Yeah, let's go. Thanks everyone for taking the time to join today's webinar. This is actually a very special one. Before we get started, a few housekeeping items. If you have any questions, you can leave them behind in the chat and the Q&A section. We'll pick those up at the end of the session. A recording of the webinar will be available after the call. However, don't jump off yet. We got a special gift for you at the end of this session. I'm excited. Today, we're announcing the launch of CAEVES, which brings decades of data to life. Let's get started. At CAEVES, our mission is to turn enterprise data and archives into AI-ready assets, transforming legacy storage into cloud-connected intelligence. My name is Jaap van Duivenbode, and today I'm joined by Andy Mullen and Lee Nicholson on this launch webinar. For over 2 decades, our team has partnered with enterprise organizations to solve their toughest data and cloud adoption challenges. We took that experience and started CAEVES. The next 30 minutes, we're going to take you on a journey on how CAEVES helps to turn decades of historical data into real intelligence. Let me take you through the agenda. Andy will be talking briefly about some of the trends that we're seeing in the industry and how AI changes the economics of unstructured data. I will be taking you through an overview of CAEVES and a deep dive into the actual architecture. Lee Nicholson will take you through a demo of CAEVES, all the way from provisioning, migrating, and indexing to unlocking intelligence using Microsoft 365 Search and Copilot. Finally, we'll be wrapping up with some considerations, takeaways, and a limited time offer, so stay tuned. Andy, let's get started. The floor is yours, man.
Great, thanks, Jaap, and thanks everyone. We appreciate you attending today's session. I see a lot of familiar names and faces, so thanks for joining today. I want to start by saying when we talk about AI-driven data management, we're really talking about how organizations unlock value from 90% of the data that they've never used. If you start to look at the industry metrics, IDC projects the global data sphere will hit 291 zettabytes by 2027, with 80 to 90% of that being unstructured. What's ironic about this is that same stat was projected in 2030 to hit 175 zettabytes, essentially half the number. So the advent of AI and other data-driven applications have proliferated the exponential growth in the last 3 years. When we started on this journey, we looked at the hard facts, and less than 15% of enterprise data today is actively searchable or analyzed, meaning 85% will sit dark, untouched. And now that AI and analytics projects are on the forefront, how are you going to access that data? Just recently, Gartner estimated over 30% of enterprise storage budgets now go towards maintaining cold or redundant data that can deliver zero business insight. That's a big number. So the real problem isn't that we don't have enough data, it's that we're not using the data that we already own. So when we look at it, the era of passive storage is over. Data can no longer sit idle. AI is forcing every organization to rethink how information is stored, accessed, and activated. Data intelligence is the new infrastructure. So unstructured data becomes an enterprise advantage when it's indexed, contextualized, and connected to tools people already use. Those are your knowledge users, your decision makers. The economics are shifting from cost to capability. In the past, the focus is no longer on price per terabyte, but on the value per insight unlocked. Compliance and innovation now go hand in hand. You have to be compliant as you innovate in your organization. As regulation tightens, resilient and transparent data architectures will define the next generation of the digital trust. The winners will make all their data intelligent. The organizations that bring dark data into the light safely and strategically will lead the age of AI. So at the end of the day, it's where AI is forcing a complete rethink of the storage strategy. And we believe we are really going in the right direction in terms of being able to unlock all of that dark data and unproven information that you have in your organization. Back to you, Jaap.
Thank you very much, Andy. And I think that's great. I think those insights are really paramount to what our customers are looking into as well to define their future strategy. So let's dive deeper into Caves. Actually, why it's important, what it actually is, and how it helps you as a business, as an IT admin, as a CIO, as a line of business user to make your life easier. So basically, let me get started. And I briefly iterated on this at the start of the meeting at the webinar. In 20 years of helping organizations consolidating data centers and moving them to the cloud, we've heard the same question over and over again. What do we do with decades of archives and historical data? Our data keeps growing. Nobody can find anything, and every year it costs more to save, store, backup, and manage and maintain that information. That's exactly why we built CAEVES, Intelligent Deep Storage for the AI era. Over the past year, we've worked closely with Microsoft to build CAEVES on a strong foundation of Microsoft Azure and the Microsoft Modern Workplace. In a nutshell, CAEVES supercharges archives with AI as it turns your company's history into searchable and actionable intelligence. And the great news is, and this wouldn't be a launch webinar, starting next week, Tuesday, November 18th, CAEVES is generally available in the Microsoft Azure Marketplace. Now let's dive into where CAEVES delivers the real value. There are four major areas that we see where CAEVES delivers instant value and results for your business. First, cost efficiency. CAEVES drives lower total cost of ownership by automatically tiering to Azure's most cost-effective storage, while maintaining instant search capabilities so you don't have to worry about tape restores and no more painful recovery processes. You get lower cost and instant access. Second, and this is really critical, security and data sovereignty. CAEVES deploys in your Azure environment with your security guardrails, compliance, and governance rules in place. We're the first to deliver end-to-end security from archive to AI. So you got more control compared to any other solution in the marketplace. Productivity. Productivity is key in the age of AI. Some people call it speed is the new skill. Before, users would have to wait days for a tape restore. Now, IT admins and end users can use Search and Copilot, which gives them access to dark data in a couple of seconds. We're seeing 50x faster research or searches with zero training required. And finally, AI-ready innovation. CAEVES connects decades of archives to Microsoft Copilot instantly. Your CEO may ask you to search for a specific management report that has been buried in multiple petabytes of data. Microsoft Copilot now searches, contextualizes decades of historical data in less than 5 seconds. Another scenario, your designers or architects may require file access to a historical project without having to wait days for rehydration or restore. CAEVES provides you real-time file access to that data while extending its value to AI. Now let's move on and dive a little bit deeper into the architecture. But before we get there, if there would be one thing that I'd like you to take away from this webinar is that CAEVES supercharges your data by your rules in your own environment. And that's something that is really critical for you to understand, and that's our promise. Now let's move into the solution architecture and how a solution like CAEVES would deploy in your own Azure tenant. I'm going to focus on how data flows throughout the CAEVES solution. It all starts with your Microsoft Azure environment. The first step is to activate the CAEVES subscription in the Azure Marketplace, followed by deploying your CAEVES instance. The CAEVES instance can be deployed in the public cloud or in your own on-premises data center, close to where your current dark data resides. Once provisioned, the CAEVES instance provides a landing zone for your old data. Lee's going to show you all about that in the demo. It's going to be great. The instance leverages a multi-tier data architecture and moves data into an automatically provisioned object store that becomes your future-proof, AI-ready single source of truth. Subsequently, you provision the CAEVES connector or the Copilot connector, which handles the indexing, security grounding, and prepares your data for Microsoft 365 and Search and Copilot. With CAEVES, you are guaranteed end-to-end enterprise security in transit, at rest, or in use. We combine the security principles from all ends of the data pipeline, honoring traditional ACLs and NTFS permissions to item-level security, filtering options, connector-level, and agent-based security. There's a lot of information here, I get it, but if you want to dive deeper, feel free to reach out to us. We'll be glad to take you even more deep on this. So let's conclude. And let me give you a key takeaways from this short overview before we dive into the demo. There's many more use cases that we envision as we're developing CAEVES as a platform. We believe the power of your historical data is in its ability to extend itself. For now, based on customer feedback during our private preview earlier this year, we see up to 70% cost reduction versus traditional archives. Instant search through Microsoft 365 Search and Copilot. We're really talking seconds, not even days. Your data at your control, fully compliance ready and deployed within your environment. AI actionable intelligence from decades of dark data without exposing sensitive information, and predictable pricing that scales with your business. So basically, lower cost, instant access, total control, and AI ready. That's what CAEVES delivers. Now let's jump into our demo. This has been the big promise of today's session. For this demo, we actually created a fake company called NovaStruct Engineering. Meet NovaStruct, this fake civil engineering firm with 30 years of project files locked in an old data center they need to exit. Their expertise is in designing and building transport infrastructure, bridges, and other large-scale engineering projects. NovaStruct has a number of challenges. They are planning for a data center exit, but their data is increasing 200% year over year. Additionally, the business has requested that their historical information becomes available to their IT admins for auditing purposes and the end user community to learn from the past. Companies like NovaStruct typically have petabytes of data, but for this demo, we're going to start small. They have about 200 terabytes sitting on Nimble storage in their data center, which has been end of life since last year. If the platform that goes down, data is lost. Out of emergency, they've also moved 250 terabytes of data into AWS storage gateways, which has no logical organization or search capabilities. Finally, the IT team still runs file services for about 50 terabytes of old user data, for which no proper backup exists. Out of the 2 petabytes of total data that they manage, 500 terabytes of that data needs immediate attention. Now, you remember these guys. They look kind of familiar, but these are the people we're talking about here. We got Zach Ulrich, NovaStruct's CIO. He's responsible for defining their data strategy. But as you can see, he has a headache. His biggest challenge is to control data growth and cost while preparing to exit their existing data center. Oh, and by the way, the IT steering committee is pushing him to adopt more AI in the organization. Now, Lars is the solutions architect, typically here to save the day. However, his biggest headache is keeping up with user demands and maintaining a secure IT environment. Finally, Lemmy is the project designer / architect. And as you can see, he loves AutoCAD, but he's been told to do more with less and finds it really hard to keep up with timelines as it's painful to find historical project information or reuse data. He's currently designing a large airport, and the deadline of this project is end of 2026. Well, it's up to Lars to save the day again, so Lars will start provisioning CAEVES in the following demo to ensure his CIO can keep control. Lars himself will keep his infrastructure services secure while keeping up with user demands, making Lemmy's life a little bit easier. So Lee, or should I say Lars, the floor is yours, man.
Thanks, Jaap. Today I'll demonstrate how CAEVES connects your Azure environment with your Microsoft 365 Copilot, turning your existing data into actionable intelligence. Everything I'll show you today runs inside your own Microsoft tenant. Okay, here I am as the solutions architect, Lars. I'm in the Azure Marketplace. I search for CAEVES and select the subscription. After you click activate, the deployment begins automatically, and you will receive a set of onboarding emails with instructions and documentation to help you through your next steps. Once your subscription is provisioned is active, we move to the provisioning. In the marketplace, select the CAEVES instance quick start template. This will deploy a dedicated virtual machine instance plus the required storage and other Azure resources. As part of the setup, associate your previous activated subscription and complete the process. Within a few minutes, the instance is live. This becomes your CAEVES landing zone, the environment where your data ingestion and deep storage takes place. All components are deployed inside your Azure tenant. For all of the prerequisites, please check out our knowledge-based article website for more details. Now that the CAEVES is deployed, Lars is now ready for the most important thing, data migration. From his workstation, we connect to the CAEVES instance virtual file share. He creates a new folder called Migration 1. This could be video, design documents, or archival project data. As you can see, you can get a high performance in terms of copying data to the CAEVES virtual file share. For large-scale migrations, tools like Robocopy or third-party migration utilities can be used. Batch processing of thousands of files can happen in mere seconds. Importantly, you will also see that the NTFS permissions are preserved, so all access control from your original source stays intact throughout the environment. So we're going to take a different step now. Let's talk about our CEO, Zach. He's checked all his boxes. Novastract can now monitor and manage everything through Microsoft native capabilities, such as storage discovery workspaces. Here you can see, oh, what happened? Oh, sorry, guys. Just pause for a second. Now that the CAEVES is, sorry about that. Now that the CAEVES is deployed, Lars is now ready for, once your data has landed inside CAEVES, the next step is to connect your Microsoft 365 Search and Copilot. To do that, we deploy the CAEVES Copilot Connector Quick Start template, again from the marketplace. During the setup process, you will use the same subscription, resource group, and region used for your CAEVES instance, keeping everything in one aligned within the single Azure region for compliance and performance. On the deployment, the connector creates a lightweight container instance that is secure in your environment, and it makes all your data indexed and ready for Microsoft 365 Search and Copilot. Within minutes, your data and archive become accessible. Not only has our CIO, Zach, checked all the boxes, Novastruct can now monitor and manage everything through Microsoft native capabilities, such as storage discovery workspaces. Here you can see the CAEVES landscape, the number of objects, data size, containers, and objects. We can also see which CAEVES instance are active and what the largest consumers are. You can have a CAEVES instance in a single or multiple, spanning across multiple regions for different data sets. And as you can see, we have one very large data set with 11.5 terabytes already provisioned. That means the deployment of CAEVES is successful. Now we're going to move on to the real interesting stuff. So give me 1 second. I'm just going to jump over.
Yeah, good stuff, Lee. And, great job at putting like 30 minutes of provisioning into 5 minutes. That was good.
Thanks, y'all.
Back to you, man.
Let me just share my next screen. So let me know when you guys can see it as well, please. That would be great.
We're good.
Good. Awesome. So now that we have everything provisioned, and as Job said, it takes about 30 minutes to do this, I just wanted to get into the live demo with you guys now. So I'm in my M365 search environment, and as you can see, I'm running on search at the moment. So what I'm going to do is all that data has been indexed, and I'm actually going to look for NovaStruct specifically. And when I look in NovaStruct now, I can actually see in our CAEVES environment, we have a number of files available for different projects for NovaStruct. You can click on the link directly to download the file, or if you need a more traditional access, you can also just copy the link and go to your normal Windows Explorer browser, and you can access the data directly here by copying one or multiple files. It is entirely up to you. But now we have another capability that has come from all of this, and that is our agents. If you look at our agents, we have a number of them pre-deployed and configured already. Within this environment, we have the corporate archive, we have a management team, engineering team, and human resources team. All of these have separate prompts that all the users can use. So you can actually make it easier for your end users to utilize this dark data that they have access to. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to change gears and I'm going to go to the management team. And I specifically want to look for a resource overview for NovaStruct. And I'm just going to paste that in. And when I do this, I will then get an overall summary of everything that NovaStruct has been doing over time. And you can see that we actually can go down to the sources and we can see where it has actually collected the data from. These are clickable links to get to this data very quickly. Again, if you needed, you could go to Windows Explorer and extract these files all at once. This is really powerful in stuff, and it's really great for it to work this way. With NovaStruct's data that is no longer locked away, sorry, one sec. With CAEVES, NovaStruct data is no longer locked away. It has become searchable, intelligent, and actionable, giving every team from engineering to management the ability to access, search, and reason across years of historical data. Thanks for watching this demo. Over to you, Job.
Yeah, thanks, Leon. That was a great quick overview. And obviously, the goal is to dive deeper into Copilot agents, and capability in the upcoming sessions, where we're also going to talk about how to use different models and how to subsequently benefit from this level of integration with both Search and Copilot. So now let's go back. I'll share my screen to wrap things up. We're coming close to the half an hour, and then we'll open up for Q&A. Nope, we got to go this one. Let's go here. This is the screen. This is where we want to be. So basically, let's conclude what NovaStruct has been capable of doing. So where are they today? So remember these guys, they've exited their data center on schedule. No more infrastructure to worry about. They migrated all of that 500 terabytes of critical data now into one consolidated platform. Their team can search 30 years of engineering design documentation and retrieve this in seconds instead of days. Subsequently, data growing 200% year over year, no problem. CAEVES scales automatically with predictable cost. And here's the best part. The 500 terabytes that needed immediate attention, it's now searchable through Copilot. Look at the NovaStruct team now. They're much happier. They're happy as can be. So all fun things aside, let's get to the conclusion before we get into the Q&A. We've learned that the cost of cloud data platforms, NAS filers, and cold storage solutions can skyrocket, especially at hundreds of terabytes or even multi-petabyte scale. Even hyperscalers, traditional archive, or cold storage solutions would lack the cost efficiencies and functionality. With CAEVES, your data stops being a cost center and becomes intelligent advantage, secure, searchable, and AI ready. Starting at 3 cents per gigabytes per month, it's easy to kick off your journey with CAEVES. Some of our multi-petabyte scale customers that have participated in our private preview earlier this year have achieved a 70% cost reduction. That's a total cost of ownership close to 1 cent per gigabyte per month, which includes all of the cloud infrastructure as well, and these intelligent services that we're demonstrating. So if you want to learn what this means for your business, you can model out your cost profile on our website, or we would be glad to work with you to model something out and figure out what the future of your data would look like. Now, before we wrap things up, let's go here. Yeah, there's a few ways to get started. You can check out our website at caeves.com. A lot of new updates coming in the next couple of days. Remember, next Tuesday, we're going to go live in the Azure Marketplace. You can find CAEVES in the Azure Marketplace. The full offering will be live and available to you to start playing around with. And here's the incentive, our gift to you. The first 5 terabytes of CAEVES are free for life when you subscribe before the end of this year. And second, the first 5 customers that sign up and reach that 5 terabytes or more, we would love that, will receive a $500 gift card, or we will donate that same amount to a charity of your choice. With that being said, let's open it up for Q&A.
So, Jaap, I have a few questions that came in. One was around vendor lock-in and flexibility. Are we locked into your platform?
That's a great question, and that's something I've always seen a lot, in the old days in terms of controllers, gateways, platforms, storage. No, you're not. That's the great thing. Data lives in your Azure environment within your security principles, guardrails, and compliance and governance rules, so to say, and it runs in your own tenant on an Azure Object Storage account. You control all the data. That's also non-proprietary. So you can access the data as it would normally live in your environment. You can rehydrate it to the CAEVES instance, to purpose it in another area. You can basically do anything you want with it. You're not locked in and you have access to it at all times.
Good. I think this one's for me. What's the commitment period? Can we scale down? So the answer to that is this is a Azure Marketplace subscription with monthly billing. So there's no multi-year lock-ins. We can do private offers if a customer decides they want to take advantage of cost reduction for a multi-year agreement. The solution can scale up or down based on actual storage used. There's no penalties for reducing capacity. This is a pay-as-you-grow solution. And there's obviously options for annual agreements if you're familiar with the marketplaces and private offers. Another one, Jaap, user experience and access. Do users need new logins or software to access the CAEVES solution?
No, not at all. If you are integrated within Azure Active Directory or Intra ID and federated with AD Connect or Active Directory, this transparently fits in. This is really transparent, built on Microsoft semantics, so not at all. No training, no further integration or complexities.
Yep. And do we have a free or trial version to test? Yes, absolutely. That's in the chat window. If you go out to the marketplace next week, the first 5 terabytes are at no charge. And if you stay on the 5 terabytes, that's free of charge for the life of the relationship. That promotion ends at the end of January. Excuse me, at the end of December, the 1st of the year. So there is a 5 terabyte trial that's free at this point. And there's another question about GCP. So obviously, this was our first hyperscaler that we launched in. We're looking at the other hyperscalers in the roadmap, whether that be GCP, OCI, or AWS at this point.
Great.
And I think maybe
there's a few other ones, but
did you want to touch upon just because it came up around personal data and access? I did actually throw into the chat window about how we actually use all of the security principles and actually can allow specific users access to specific folders and Copilot agents. So did you want to just hit upon that, Jaap?
Yeah, I think the great thing about what we've built is unique in the marketplace because we honor what's on the front end in terms of NTFS permissions and ACLs, which will use a principle called grounding into the Microsoft Search and Copilot ecosystem. So As Lee was demonstrating his search capability, let's say Lee has access to a specific file. The originating permissions from the source will cascade into Copilot. So if I do the search and I don't have any traditional permissions, I won't be able to find the results as well, which is basically aligns the whole end-to-end data pipeline with the security principles. Same thing applies to Copilot. If I would put in a prompt to get a summary of information, I may get different sources where it iterates that information from compared to Lee, depending on the principles and the security principles that apply. In addition to that, you could think about compartmentalizing specific roles for your connectors, where you could use filters for specific file types, specific media types. We're actually using 3 different indexing engines, from Docling, Markdown to OCR, and a few others in our connector to model that data. So you can easily identify a connector to a specific role, a specific data set, a part of your data set, or maybe even a secure environment. So long story short, Andy, yes, we adhere to all those principles from an Entra ID perspective.
And one other thing I want to touch upon was that on the deployment, I know, Lee, you went through it pretty quickly, but as far as speed of deployment, and this is one thing we were really conscious about when we developed the solution, and being able to provision it quickly through a wizard, have you up and running. So we can have your baseline deployment running in under an hour. And for, let's say, a 100 terabyte example, you're looking at 1 to 2 days, not weeks. We've been able to move up to 500 terabytes in a single week. So we do have a process and a framework to get that done. So this isn't a heavy lift. I mean, outside of deciding what data you want to move, we do have a more simplistic way of doing that than in the past.
That's great. I think we're already up to the 30 minutes.
Yep. Okay.
We're almost 4 minutes over. I think there's a few more questions in the Q&A, but what we'd love to do is, and we love to connect in real life or just over a personal call to dive deeper in some of the architectural aspects, some of the business use cases, some of the future stuff. I'm actually planning to do a roadmap call coming December and have a guest speaker on compliance and governance in Copilot. A lot of cool stuff coming from CAEVES to you in the next couple of weeks. And if you're interested to learn more, reach out to Andy, Lee, myself, or anyone on the team, and we'd be glad to jump on a call with you to model things out and basically answer any additional questions that you may have. For now, thank you very much for joining. This was super exciting. It's great to be back here with a lot of familiar faces again, and I'm going to wish you a wonderful day all.
Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.